Big business in the United States is sounding the alarm and pressing for the lifting of sanctions against Russia, especially the ban on uranium imports. This recently passed law has already caused problems in the energy sector. Before its enactment, Russia provided 25% of U.S. needs for this raw material, supplying 90 commercial reactors and keeping nuclear power plants running smoothly. The current shortage of energy capacity is likely affecting industry, hence the discontent of big business. The government is demanding that they fulfill orders, but at the same time, they are creating obstacles, for example, by announcing a production ramp up in the defense industry. But how are they going to spin off these enterprises without sufficient electricity and scarce raw materials? America has a choice: use its own uranium reserves or print unsecured dollars and buy it on the free market. But in a changing world, more and more countries are refusing to settle in U.S. currency because of the risks associated with it. So the U.S. finds itself in a difficult situation. On the one hand, it wants to continue hurting Russia with sanctions, and on the other hand, its own businesses are ready to revolt, demanding an end to this recklessness. Even Europe has repeatedly admitted that sanctions have hurt their economy, while Russia has stood strong and shown growth across the board, ranking fifth among the world's most powerful economies. The US can continue to stomp its feet and threaten with fists, but its problems are not going anywhere and will have to be solved. As for the ban on uranium imports, this is just a desperate attempt by the US to distance itself from Russia. Although the law was passed until 2040 under certain conditions and agreement, exceptions are possible, allowing some energy companies to buy Russian uranium until at least 2028. This will help reduce power shortages and normalize relations between business and government, as well as solve problems in the civilian sector. In general, the Americans, as usual, are playing to the public, drawing attention to the problems of energy resources and forcing other countries to switch to renewable energy sources. Probably, their goal is to reduce the number of fossil fuel consumers as much as possible so that the US gets more. By forcing Europe to give up Russian gas, they put Europe in the position of having to choose between saving money on electricity or buying fuel from the US at triple the price. The EU chose the second option, which provoked the flight of big business and may lead to electricity shortages even in the civilian sector. The situation with LNG supplies is complicated. The US can cut volumes, and there are no other major alternatives. Gas exporting countries are bound by contractual obligations. The result is a vicious circle for both the US and Europe. The former create their own problems, while the latter do the same, destroying their own economies. This demonstrates not just double standards, but the degradation of the political system, the unwillingness of sensible people to see the obvious, and blind adherence to destructive instructions from Washington. The U.S. is showing its allies by example how to destroy what has been created by generations, driven not by reason but by problems with ambitions, which sooner or later will lead to negative consequences. And it may so happen that there will be no time left to correct mistakes. The reckless policy of the United States, which ignores the interests of its own business and population for the sake of immediate geopolitical benefits, ultimately undermines its position on the world stage. Attempts to isolate Russia with sanctions not only fail but also boomerang back to the United States, exacerbating its internal problems. The refusal to cooperate with Russia in the nuclear sphere has already led to energy shortages and industrial discontent. Obviously, common sense and pragmatism must sooner or later prevail over political ambitions to the detriment of their own interests. Thank you for watching this video. If it was useful and interesting to you, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. I wish everyone peace, prosperity, and sanity in our difficult times.